Hello, everyone. We are so glad you are here with us again. If you enjoy this episode, please rate, review, and share it so that we can reach more ECEs and childcare workers. My name is Rachel Neville, and I will be your host today. Today, I am super duper excited to welcome to the podcast Patricia Borges Noguera. Patricia is a registered early childhood educator, journalist, and community advocate. Patricia has over 15 years of experience working with children and families in various settings, but working in childcare with preschoolers was by far her favorite. Currently, she is our All Star Communications Coordinator at the Association of Early Childhood Educators Ontario, a role that allows her to use her background in journalism, her knowledge of the Ontario early learning sector, and her creative skills to make policy, advocacy, and legislation more accessible for ECEs and childcare workers. Patricia was born in Brazil and came to Canada as an international student 10 years ago.
Thank you for having me. Yay.
Of course. So today's episode is all going to be all about looking back at 2025. And I think this is a really important episode because, as we close out the year and begin 2026, I think it's always important to reflect back on the things that happened because it really helps us sort of inform what our next steps are and what we're going to be doing heading into the new year. So there's no one better to have on this episode than Patricia, the person who always remembers all the little details. It's going to be so awesome to, have you help us remember all the things that we might otherwise forget. So 2025, wow, what a year. I mean,
What a year.
yeah, I feel like we say this every year, but so many important things happen. Like, what comes to mind when you think 2025?
Well, 2025 was a very interesting year to be in this work
Hmm.
because we started the year with two elections here, right? We had a federal election and we had a provincial election. So that was a lot of campaigning around that. We saw a lot of people stand up for ECEs, stand up for families, and demand that Ontario signs an extension to the 10-day agreement. So we started the year with a bang, right? Because the,
Yeah.
the double whammy of double election and childcare being every election that comes, like since I've been here, childcare has become a bigger issue, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, I was just gonna say that this time around, it felt like childcare was more front and center than ever before,
than ever,
really.
for
Hmm.
sure. Not only because of the federal program, but because it's become more affordable for a lot of families. People know what it's like to have access just licensed childcare now. And in the case of other provinces and territories, early child educators and childcare workers also are experiencing increasing wages, pensions, better benefit plans, the things that we're fighting for all early child educators and childcare workers here in Ontario. A standout for me from the beginning of the year was International Women's Day because we were having a AECEO get together. Like you were here in the city, so we all got to go to the march together.
Yeah.
And IWD is always such, the vibe is impeccable.
Yeah.
Always, always. Like it's just being around with people who, care about women and communities and children. Also, this was a year that in my role at the AECEO, I got to travel around the province a lot and meet ECEs in different cities. And that was definitely a highlight for me. Started the year off going to Waterloo. We hosted an event there. And then we went to Sault Ste. Marie this fall. That was incredibly cool. I kept saying to Amber and Aaron, who were with me, that like this is probably the first time somebody in my family line has been in this part of the world because like
Yeah.
right like it's the middle like right in between Canada and the States and a small town, and I don't have family living in this part of the world, so it was cool to see that.
Hmm.
We had big changes in our team and in the way that we do our work. Uh, Alana, who was our executive director for many years, got a job at the federal government. Yay. Working as a senior policy analyst with Minister Hadou. And it's just, to me, Like that will never, I will never not, I will always think about this as like, guys, there's an ECE working in the federal government. There's an
Yeah.
ECE who was on the floor working at the federal government, someone who knows what it's like to be an ECE, somebody who knows the struggles that we face when we're working on the floor. And on top of that, she's also someone who has extensive knowledge of policy, of ethics of care. So we couldn't have asked for anybody better to be in that position. And
Yeah.
that also allowed for us to add a new person to our team because Amber Straker, who was our project coordinator, and
Yes.
she's been doing a fantastic job.
Yep.
As an employee, I'm very happy to be under her leadership. But as her friend, I'm also so freaking proud, right? Like just this morning, she was on CP24 talking about um, before and after programs and how hard it is to staff them because
Mhm.
it's one of the hardest shifts that you have to work, right? The split shift, the long days,
Yeah, we're
and
super lucky to have Amber as our fearless leader.
fearless leader for sure.
Hmm.
And we recently welcomed Ta to the team, which is also very exciting. Ta has like experience working with federal organizations. She worked at Childcare Resource and Research Unit at Childcare Now, has worked with like a cross country project, which has a lot of moving parts. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, you were able to manage that project. I think you're going to do so well. Another huge highlight of the year was that the AECEO turned 75.
Woohoo!
And that this big anniversary, birthday milestone inspired me to just like do a deep dive on who founded the AECEO, who were those people, why were they doing this, and the history of early child education and care in our province. And it's a lot more interesting and like powerful than I thought, right? Because when we think about it led me to thinking about the context that the organization was founded in, and it was in the post World War II, when the wartime nurseries were closed. There were these women that were like, no, this work is important. We need to have spaces for children to grow and thrive and play, and their moms deserve to have a life outside of being a mom. And it's, I'm sure, very rewarding, but to have the option, right, to have
Hmm.
your kid be in a safe place with people that you trust. So that's, I think that's one of the biggest things for me this year, even outside of work, because I got so into like looking through the old photos, trying to
Hmm.
find records, trying to find more about the history of the people that started the AECEO, and discovered some, like, can I say badass? I think I can, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I just said it. These amazing, fierce, powerful women that started this work, and here we are, almost a century later, living on their legacy. And
Yeah. Although it was like a lot of forward planning and thinking about, the present and the future in the sector with the elections and the shakeups in our team, I think having that um, project to work on, looking back, also really helps ground what we're doing now because we're
yeah,
building on the work of previous generations and improving it and trying to make the AECO more inclusive and continue and grow our capacity to support ECEs
yeah.
beyond, where we started and into the future. So it was a really cool reminder of, why we're all here and do what we do.
It's exactly like you said. It is something that really grounded my idea of our work, because advocacy is not easy. But to see that, like, we've survived 75 years. So we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep doing the work that we do. We're going to keep speaking up on behalf of ECEs and propping them up so that they can speak up for themselves. And it just makes me really proud to be part of this history. And we're working in this incredible organization at historical times for early learning and childcare in Canada, right?
Hmm.
So we are actually living through and working through historical moments that I think maybe people don't think about it as much, because when we look at our other systems like school and post-secondary and even healthcare systems, because they've already been in place, we
Mm-hmm.
already have something there. We don't think about how they started. And with system building for childcare, we're watching things start as they
Mm-hmm.
go. So that's been incredible to experience. Another big, huge thing that we had this year, our Worth More campaign won the Good Fight Prize from the AECEO Foundation.
In
So,
partnership with the OCBCC.
yes, in partnership with the OCBCC, our Worth More campaign that we ran for 3 years. Um, and that brought so many people into this movement, got so many people interested in working with the AECEO in advocacy. Uh, and it was just really special to be able to be recognized in that way,
And to
with
have all
our
the
team.
ECEs and childcare work, to have all the ECs and childcare workers who participated in that campaign were also a big part of that win. And we share that with you. And we hope that you also feel recognized through that win and your hard work.
Absolutely. Without the ECEs, without the childcare workers, there's no AECEO, there's no OCBCC, there's no advocacy, because
Hmm.
what we're fighting for is for you,
Hmm.
right? And this campaign wouldn't have existed. It wouldn't have been um, an award-winning campaign
Hmm.
without the people that made it real, right? And like,
Yeah.
I don't know if folks know this, but the Worth More slogan came from the announcement of the wage floor back in 2022 of $18 an hour.
Mm.
And a wage floor of $18 an hour for registered early child educators was a slap in the face for many people.
Yeah.
And even though it meant that a lot of people that were making minimum wage, shame, got a big bump in their salary to 18 and then to $23 an hour, it was still not enough. These are worth more.
Hmm.
Our intention was to show that, like, the things we do with children in our programs every day, the connections we build with families, the place we occupy in our communities, all of that is part of
Hmm.
advocacy. All of that is part of what we can do to fight for the respect, recognition, and the wages that ECs deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, so much big stuff in 2025. I feel like we could talk about it all day.
Yeah, yeah. We definitely launched a lot of merch this year,
Yeah.
right? Like our collections. People love the cards that we make, and that makes me so happy. We did a whole year of podcasting.
Hmm.
Thanks to you, Rachel, and not
Oh.
not just your hosting skills, but your organizing and um,
And shout out to Jess Tomas, who does our editing.
that's true. Uh, and it really is a labor of love and a labor of community, because we,
Mhm.
if it was just one of us doing this, I don't think it would work.
Yeah, yeah.
But we had a beautiful summer campaign
Hmm.
that was designed and created by Aaron. It was very cool to see people getting engaged with that and like using our social media in the way that we tend for it to be used. That it's like, oh, I'm going to see what the AECEO is about, and just like scroll through our feed and see the things that we're doing, and
Yeah.
hopefully see where you can fit into that. I think a big highlight that stands out for me this year was the students that we had. We have placement students from all over the province thanks to our remote office. And it's always such such an interesting experience, because it allows us to look at our work through the eyes of someone who's completely new to it, and to see like, oh, people respond better this way, or they understand better if we explain things in this manner. And then to have students who came and added so much to our work and to our perspective and to the way that we build this community.
I feel
So
like I always learn so much from them.
yes,
Hmm.
yeah. And yeah, like you're right. I could be talking about this all day.
Yeah.
This was a very good year.
Very good year. So when I think back on 2025, what's something that, makes you laugh or brings you a lot of joy or makes you feel like those warm fuzzies?
Well, something that brings me a lot of joy, and this is something that I think people don't know yet because it's very behind the scenes still.
Hmm.
But in June, I went with our friend and photographer Mark Rubin
Yeah.
to the Charles Street Child Care Center, and we got to take pictures there for our website. And that day was incredible. Like just to be around ECE, see them doing that work and like shine a light on them. We took those pictures and they're beautiful. Mark used film photography. It's just magical. There's like an ethereal thing to the photos. And then to just like capture those moments. There's so many pictures that feel so special. Like there's a picture of um, Michelle, which is one of the ECEs in the preschool room, putting her hand over one of the kids' heads to pour the milk. And
Hmm.
it's such a childcare moment, such an ECE moment, so special. And the fact that we were
Yeah.
able to capture that felt really special. Um,
Yes, all of those pictures will be featured on our new website, which we're launching in the new year. So I'm
very
excited
exciting.
for everyone to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited to go and visit the childcare center again and bring them the photos because I promised that I would do that.
Hmm.
We're surrounded by people in this work that make it lighter, that
Yeah.
make it possible for us to bear that weight, right?
I think
Um,
something that brought me a lot of joy this year too was our membership meetings and having our members all come together and, share what they're experiencing, talk about what's going on in policy and what's going on in their work. And it's just such a great community that we have. And to be able to, yeah, come, like you were saying, come together when things are hard and have those real conversations, but also make space for joy and fun is always so
yeah,
important.
yeah. I think that like our last membership meeting was on the day of our anniversary, November 6th. And that was such a special meeting. That definitely
Yeah.
brought me a lot of joy because we did have quite a few longtime AECEO members that joined the meeting and shared how the AECEO impacted their lives and what the AECEO has meant to them. And that definitely was like, there were no dry eyes around.
Yeah.
But also being able to read our birthday card and the messages that people left for us. That was it was really special. I'm the luckiest person in the world because I get to do this work every day and I get to do it with people that I care about on a personal, professional, intellectual, psychological, social, economical level. That feels really fortunate. That feels really lucky. And I hope that I'm using this privilege for the best.
Yeah, it is such a privilege to be able to represent ECEs and amplify their work and their voices.
Like, because that's the thing that the ACO does. We are
Hmm.
bringing ECEs and childcare workers, we're bringing the workforce to the forefront at all times. Like when we participate in conferences and in summits and panels, our first thing is the workforce. The workforce needs to be supported with good wages, with good jobs, or
Hmm.
valued in that way. Doing that work every day brings me joy and pride all the time. 2025, a big highlight for me is also that our team officially unionized. And
Yeah.
through our podcast, we were able to share what that experience was like. And we had a very unique experience, which was that it was a collaborative experience with our manager and with our board.
Yes, absolutely. So looking ahead, I mean, 2025, jam-packed, absolutely incredible work, amazing connections in our community. Looking ahead to 2026, which I can't believe we're saying that right now, that the year
Yeah,
is
that's
almost over.
bananas.
But what are your hopes for 2026?
When I look forward to the next year, the year after that, I want more ECEs to feel valued by the employers, to feel valued by the parents of the children that they work with. I hope that we can get a lot more folks that are working on the floor feeling safe to advocate and to participate in this work uh, without fear of repercussion at work, right? Because sometimes it might, we know that it ruffles feathers to stand up for yourself, to stand up for ECEs. So for 2025, what I look forward,
2026.
oh, oops, 2026, what I look forward to the most is to witnessing more ECEs feeling empowered and feeling more confident that yes, your voice matters and your perspective is essential in building any kind of system. More things that I'm looking forward to in 2026. We have our retreat coming up at the end of
Yay.
May, which is very, very exciting. In January, we're going to have an info session so folks can come and ask their questions and understand what the retreat is going to be about. But I'm really, really, really excited for that because I think it's becoming very clear that without supporting early child educators and childcare workers and making it possible for them to stay in those jobs, we're not going to be able to build a childcare system. So I'm really hopeful for that. And I'm really hopeful for changes in our public school system because we know it's been underfunded and neglected, and that the ECEs and the EAs that work in the schools end up being the ones that bear the brunt of that neglect. In 2026, we can support education workers the same way that we support childcare workers, because all of us deserve to be, uh, making good wages, having good jobs, and thrive, not just survive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, something else that's top of mind for me next year is just continuing the fight for a wage grid for ECs and all people that work in childcare. I mean, that's been something at the top of our list for a long time now. And I think having conversations with decision makers and also with our community, and finding our way to that wage grid is going to be super important. So that's top of my list for sure.
For sure. If we have a provincially instated wage grid, there's transparency there. You have to be making the wage that's on the wage grid, and your wage has to progress in the way that the grid is progressing.
It's also really helpful to hear from folks like what a wage grid would mean for them, how that would change their experience of their work and their life, and what, sorts of variables would be important to them.
Absolutely. Which is just made me think of another highlight of 2025, which was our listening and storytelling survey. We started off the year with launching that survey where we wanted to know from ECEs and childcare workers what it was like to be an ECE and childcare worker in Ontario at the moment. And we got
Yeah.
great insights into what the workforce is going through. And I'm excited to continue doing that work. And because I worked in childcare, in licensed childcare in Ontario for 4 years, 5 years. Um, and that was 5 years ago. So it's changed a lot. Everything has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And the ideas that we have, the concepts that we have, the notions that we have of what that work uh, looked and felt like are very different. So I'm glad that we get to be out in community and hear from people what they're experiencing. We have this huge opportunity with CWELC, with the 10-a-day program, to raise everybody up, right? To have publicly funded childcare needs to be decent wages and decent work for the people providing that care. In the
Mm-hmm.
same way that there is more transparency with public school boards and other education jobs that are part of the public spectrum, that's what we're fighting for with early learning and childcare too, right? It's that I think it's incredibly validating to have our federal government be like, okay, this is a thing that needs to happen. We need to have
Mm-hmm.
childcare for everybody. And I think what they're noticing is that 4 years in is that, ooh, we can't have childcare without the workforce. So I
Mm-hmm.
do hope that in the next year we see more movement, more bold political action from all sides to lift our sector up with good wages and with better working conditions.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I hope that our members and our community also feel seen in our work and feel invited into it and like they can get involved and participate. So, we always want to hear from you, whether it's on social media or virtual events or in-person events. Please let us know, what you love and what you want to see more of because everything we do is for you.
Yeah, yeah. We want to set ECE's up for success.
Absolutely. So, as we come to the end of our episode, I'm wondering if there's anything you want to leave people with in 2025 moving into 2026.
We see you. We see the work that you're doing. We know how hard it is. We know how joyful and cup filling it also is. But we are working so that you don't have to sacrifice yourself for that work that you love. Because if you've worked on the floor, you have seen and experienced the difference that having access to childcare makes for families, the difference that it makes in the life of a child to have access to that care, access to those experts, because our ECEs are experts
Hmm.
at an early age, and how much that can impact them their whole lives. There's a quote from a Brazilian writer that says that childhood is the road that we walk on our entire life. And
Mm.
I get chills every time I think about it. And that is true. So much of the things that we have to deal with as adults started in childhood or happened in our childhood. And I look forward to us living in a world where childhood is valued, respected, protected, and those are not just empty words. The way that we make that happen is by protecting and funding and respecting and recognizing the people that care for those children,
Hmm.
right? Uh, we can't uh, we can't change the world without early child education. We can't change the world without children and families, and especially moms. I want to leave folks with the reassurance that this very small but mighty team is working towards this world that values childhood, values education, values pedagogy, relationships, community, families, the things that we know you're doing out there in the world every day, getting
Hmm.
the wages and the recognition that match how essential and how important and how special this work is.
That's such a beautiful place to leave this episode and the year.
The thing that I wanted to add is that if you're listening to this and you're not involved with the AECEO, you're not getting our emails, you're not following us on social media, I don't know how you got here, but but that if you are a student, if you are a prof, if you are someone working on the floor, if you are someone working in the early years in different capacities, we have a place for you, and we want to welcome you, and we want to raise you up so that you can be the best ECE and the most fulfilled person you can be.
Absolutely. On that note, we have a survey linked in the episode description that's just a couple of questions for feedback about the podcast. And in that survey, we kind of ask folks what they're interested in hearing more of. And we'd also love to know in what way you kind of use the podcast in your life. So please check it out. It just takes a couple of minutes to fill out.
And if you see us out in the world and you listen to the podcast, tell us because it feels really special.
Patricia, thank you so much for doing this episode. And I'm definitely feeling that warm, fuzzy feeling after this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider becoming a member. The link to join us will be in the episode description. In the description, you can also find the link to our feedback survey. Your membership makes a difference in the lives of ECEs and childcare workers, children and families, and allows us to continue doing this work. To all the members currently supporting us, thank you so, so much. And to all the ECEs and childcare workers listening, you are incredible. Thank you so much for all your hard work in 2025, and we'll see you next year.